Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Sorry, it's been a long time since I've made a video. Just been busy with all sorts of projects and work. But anyways, today I thought I would talk to you about um, raising chickens from a prepping standpoint, the benefits, some of the tricks that I've learned, especially in a cold weather climate. So anyways, stay tuned. This should be a good video. Okay, so here we are in front of my chicken coop. I will say, if for those of you thinking about implementing chickens to your preps, I definitely would highly recommend it. I know that when I first was entertaining the idea, I had a lot of people kind of discouraging me, saying, well, they're messy, they attract flies, it's just a lot of work. You can get eggs at the store for cheaper, blah, 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 kind of all the same excuses. And, um, I was concerned about it, but I just figured, well, I'm not going to really know until I try. So anyways, we built this chicken coop here. This part of the chicken coop was already here when we purchased the home, and they did have a small chicken run running off the side, but it was just way too small. So my father and I ended up building this chicken run here. It's pretty much built out of pressure treated lumber and heavy duty chicken wire. And then we have a metal roof. Definitely would strongly suggest, if you do live out in the higher climates where you get snow, to make sure to give yourself a good 3-foot overhang there. That's helped a lot. It keeps the snow from coming in, and it keeps the snow away from the door, so you can access your chicken run. I highly recommend chickens. It's just a really good renewable food source. It's a healthy food source, and it's high protein and high in vitamins and minerals. I never really get sick of eggs. I can eat eggs every day, and they're good for you and healthy for you. This chicken coop, actually, just so you can see here, isn't too far from our house. It's probably, I don't know, probably 60 feet from the door. And yeah, we do get flies in the summertime, but it's not that bad. They don't really make their way too much to the door. Some years are worse than others, but if you keep your chicken coops maintained, you keep them clean, you're not going to have a fly issue. Worst case scenario, you put some fly strips up there, and you can deal with them that way, but it really hasn't been that big of an issue. Some of the things to consider when you're going to build a chicken coop is placement. Your chickens are going to need sunlight, and they're, believe it or not, they're also going to need a lot of cover and for concealment, especially if you live out in the wilderness and there's a lot of natural predators like coyotes and raccoons. The more coverage they have, the higher their chances of not getting picked off are. So like our neighbor down the street, she's got chickens, and she doesn't have any trees really in front of her house, and her chickens are getting picked off all the time by coyotes, because where we are, all the coyotes are there's a mountain over there, and all the coyotes are on that side of the mountain there, and if they can't see the chickens, they're not going to come down. So and then in the spring and summer, I free range the chickens, and so they have all this area to free range and stay concealed from their predators. So, and then this backside, same thing. There's just a lot of trees for cover and all of that. So they're very well concealed over here. The downside is that they don't get a lot of sun, because it's too much concealment, and they need the sun. But in the spring and summer, like I said, they do get the sun once they go out there. But in the winter, they don't get a whole lot of sun, which means you have to supplement their protein. So here are my chickens here. We're down to 6 chickens. The red ones are Rhode Island Reds, and the black ones are Black Morans. I started out with 11 chickens, and we lost the rest to coyotes and raccoons. But I think I have this chicken run and chicken coop really well fortified now to where nothing's going to get in here and get them. So we just had one issue last year where I had a secondary chicken coop here where I was introducing new chickens to the family, and there was a little access point here where they could come in, and I didn't think that anything would get in there. It was, it was just a really small area between the opening, and so anyways, a raccoon managed to figure it out, and he got in there and had his way with some of the chickens. So anyways, I fixed that. These roosting bars they're sitting on are actually just regular branches that I took from our property. I did read that chickens do like to roost on natural wood, as opposed to a lot of people who use closet bars. But from what I hear, they like the feel of just like a natural branch. So that's what I have them roosting on. And it's important to kind of keep them in their chicken run as well, especially in the winter. It keeps them up off the ground, and so they can be outside and kind of stay off the ground where it's cold. The food I'm feeding them is just like a kind of a higher protein food, about 18 grams of protein, and that just helps with with their egg production. This water heater here, this water feeder, it is heated. If you do live out in an area where it gets below freezing, this is a necessity. You have to have it, just make sure to keep an eye, like in the fall when these things, because they don't supply them at the chicken stores, at the feed stores, they don't supply them until around the fall, and by the time they show up on the shelves, they're gone almost immediately. So just make sure that if you're starting out and you live out in the colder temperature areas, to make sure you grab one of these as soon as you see them. And they're about $40 to $50, but definitely a necessity. The reason I chose these birds is the Rhode Island Reds and the Black Morans is they are a hardier bird. They do really well in colder climates, and they are consistent at with their eggs. They produce a large egg, and they're consistent in their production. The downside would be they eat, because they're a bigger bird, they're going to eat a lot more and produce a lot more waste. But I don't know. Overall, it's just a good chicken. I'm happy with them. So something to keep in mind. Let's see, going inside, I just kind of have a pretty simple power situation. Just got a power strip with some zip ties and just turn it. Well, I try not to turn it on and off, because right now the only thing I have running off of here is the water heater. And then if I need some light, I'll just plug in the light, and then I just have a light up there. I just finished cleaning this chicken coop out. Another thing to kind of keep in mind in the winter is you are going to have to keep these. You're going to have to stay on top of keeping them clean, because their waste starts to pile up and it freezes. It will turn to concrete. I mean, just like this, it just turns to ice. Everything freezes. So you're just going to have to make sure to keep on top of the cleaning in the wintertime for that reason. Kind of the way I do my cubbies, for lack of a better word. Once I clean them out, I put down a layer of pine chips. I haven't done it yet because I think I'm out. I got to go get some more straw, but I'll do a layer of pine chips, and then and then I'll put some straw over the top for their nesting and keeps them warm. They like to nest in the straw. But the pine chips, are kind of have antimicrobial properties, and it just helps with the overall hygiene of the stalls themselves, keeps the bacteria down. So that's why I do the pine chips. Over here, it just has some containers. A customer on a job just was giving these away, so I took them. It's definitely something I've been learning just as a prepper, just to not turn free stuff down, because I can almost always find a use for things. And so for these, I think he was using them for his recycled cans. And so now they're acting as my feeders. So this top one just has the chicken's regular feed. And then the second one here has the crumble feed for when we have chicks in the spring. And then that lower one just has pine chips. It's a little depleted at the moment. The 55-gallon drum here is just where I keep their straw. So up top here, I have some cayenne pepper. Believe it or not, you can actually sprinkle in the wintertime if the egg production slows down. You put a little cayenne pepper in their food, and it will kind of it doesn't hurt their mouth like it does with us, but it will warm their tummies up a little bit and kind of create the illusion that they're warm, and it will increase their egg production activities. So over here, I just have some mealworm. These are treats. I try to not give them too many treats because that slows egg production as well. So I throw them out some mealworms once every 2 weeks or so. Here, I got an egg here, and this is one of the issues that you're going to run into if you have chickens in the winter and it's below freezing, is if you don't get your eggs early enough, they will freeze. You can see that, and they will split. They just expand and it splits. So this egg is still good. I can still eat it. It just means I can't store it. So I'm going to have to consume it right away. So just another thing to kind of keep in mind. I know some people I've talked to have heated their chicken coops. I've done research on it. And from what I've gathered, the consensus is do not heat your chicken coops. For two reasons. One, it's dangerous because your heat lamp can fall and catch fire. And the second one, your chickens are going to acclimate. Your chickens need to acclimate to the winter. They'll go through a process which is called molting, where they lose their underfluff of feathers, and they grow new ones, and it helps them stay warm. So they've had millions and millions of years to to figure this out and evolve. So your chickens can handle winter for sure. So just let them acclimate. Don't do the heat. I'd say if anything, you might want to consider just insulating the coop, and that might help with keeping your eggs from freezing. Maybe buy you a little bit more time before they freeze, and just keeping your chickens maybe a little warm isn't, going to hurt, because that's going to help with the egg production. So I would say, if anything, maybe insulate your coop, and that's about it, but don't run a heater. It's just dangerous, and the chickens don't need the heat. They're still going to produce eggs. Let's see. I think that is about it. I've got this chicken coop all cleaned. So I would definitely suggest, if you're thinking about doing chickens, it is a good idea. I don't regret it. It's probably one of the greatest things I've done is in my preps. It's just a really good peace of mind to know that I have a renewable food source. It does get a little trickier in the winter because you can't supplement their food with free ranging, because obviously everything's covered with snow, so you have to rely solely on their feed itself. So if you have the money, I would suggest probably buying all the food you're going to need for the winter. That way, just to ensure any issues with the supply chain and not being able to get the food. I mean, it's definitely something I worry about. I mean, if the chicken food wasn't at the feed store and I couldn't get chicken food, these chickens, I don't know what they'd be eating. I mean, we have scraps, but not that many scraps. So I don't know how long the chickens would last. I'm not sure if there's really much for them to eat out here. I don't know what I do. The turkeys around here, the wild turkeys have managed to figure it out. So I don't know, maybe I'd let the chickens loose and see if they could come up with something to eat. But yeah, like I said, if you had the money, I'd say, you know, figure out how much food you're going to need for the winter and just buy it all ahead of time. With these 6 chickens, they actually go through, just to kind of give you an idea, these 6 big birds go through like a 50-pound bag of feed every 3 weeks, something like that. So, yeah, whatever that works out to, just, you know, I buy about 2 bags at a time. So that usually gets me through almost 2 months. But yeah, other than that, I definitely suggest adding chickens to your preps. I'm actually thinking about introducing some quail to my preps here soon. I might do that next year. I'm still researching it, but just as far as like a meat source, just so we have a meat source as well. So anyways, guys, hope you liked the video. If you haven't done so already, please thumbs up the video and subscribe to the channel. And until the next one, stay prepared.